My name is Kristin Kirkpatrick, registered dietitian. I'd like to share with you a little insight regarding the FDA proposed gluten-free labeling law and what it means to you as a consumer. As we know, reading labels is an essential component to good health. But if you have gluten-induced sensitivities or celiac disease, it takes on a whole different meaning. Currently, the United States Food and Drug Administration does not have any regulations that defines the term gluten-free. In fact, for years, the FDA has allowed the use of the term gluten-free in the labeling of foods, provided that it was truthful and not misleading when such a label was used. Yet, there was no real enforcement of this to protect the consumer. A few months ago, however, the FDA reopened their request for comments for its 2007 gluten-free labeling proposal. Enacting this label into law would mean that millions of consumers could finally have a label they could trust, a label that was based on hard science and years of evidence. The purpose of the FDA's decision to move forward with an official gluten-free label was to 1, establish a safer food environment, and 2, to define what gluten-free really means in the eyes of the consumer as well as the food product manufacturer. To obtain an amount that could be considered safe for all individuals, the FDA looked at data obtained through research conducted in clinical trials and studies assessing the cause and effects of gluten intake in certain populations. The number that was determined and established as safe was 20 parts per million, or 20 ppms. Under this ruling, a product could safely be labeled gluten-free as long as it did not have more than 20 ppms or more gluten. So what exactly would gluten-free labeling law mean to you, the average consumer? After all, 20 ppms probably sounds as foreign to you as a difficult calculus equation. But a promise from a manufacturer that ensures your product has safe ingredients for you and your family, now that's important. The gluten-free label, which would also be synonymous with the terms free of gluten, without gluten, and no gluten, would mean that the product would be void of any species of wheat, rye, barley, or any crossbred hybrids of these grains in any detectable levels. It also must be void of any ingredient derived from these grains that have gone through any processing to remove the gluten. Establishing the 20 ppm criteria as the threshold would mean that consumers, just like you, could feel completely safe eating a gluten-free labeled food. Manufacturers could continue to produce a variety of gluten-free foods, and the availability of gluten-free foods would flourish. To enforce the label, the FDA would conduct regular reviews of product labels, on-site inspections of food manufacturers, and analysis of food samples. It is anticipated that the labeling law will be enacted by the third quarter of 2012. Imagine a world where you could walk into any store and feel completely comfortable that a product with the FDA gluten-free label stamped on it will be safe for you and your family. As a dietitian, that's the world I want to live in.